Yo, what's up? It's Tom here. I want to talk about INFP, INFJ briefly. I don't want to get too much into it. But if you've watched any of my other videos on this channel, you'll know that originally I declared myself as being an INFP. I'm an INFP! Explains a lot. Or whatever. I turned the video. And it's, that the first video I made about being an INFP was pretty much immediately after I'd done my first ever MBTI test and came out as an INFP, and also from just reading the traits and thinking, oh yeah, this makes a lot of sense. I feel very like I match a lot of this. But ever since that, I've still felt kind of like something was missing. Haven't felt completely 100% at one with the entire INFP description. And sometimes, especially after spending some time in some INFP forums, I've kind of felt a bit of a restlessness and just wanting to kind of be like, well, I am very, I have a deep inner life. I'm very kind of emotional. I'm very feeling. I'm very kind of intuitive, and all that kind of stuff. And to a degree, I feel like I'm perceive things. But at the same time, I'm starting to realise that there's a part of me that is almost wants to grab the bull by the horns and just kind of have some kind of epic cause. I just want to change the world, to be honest, I do. And I feel more like I identify with INFJ, and I've been doing a lot more tests. And I know these personality tests, especially on the internet, are kind of fickle. Some of the questions just seem so stupid. Like, I don't know, do you use your room untidy? Or, I don't know, they seem like things that are a bit too basic to really boil down to this. So I did some cognitive function tests, and I came out INFJ, and 100% on, what is it, intuition? Is that the one? And the other test I've done, I've come out as INFJ, but only just. It seems to be like almost 50-50 between INFP and INFJ. And it seems to be on the judging and perceiving side, there is like a couple of % difference between the two. I guess it's probably a pretty common thing. So I guess it kind of comes down to reading up a lot about the cognitive functions, which I'll be honest, I find really boring. It kind of starts. After a while, I've just had enough of reading about fucking cognitive functions. Okay, yeah, whatever. I kind of feel like I just want to move on past this personality type thing, whilst at the same time desperately wanting to have my identity a bit more solidified, so I can kind of have something to focus on to help me develop myself. Not so much that I care too much about the whole personality things. To a large degree, I think there's a lot of grey areas, and I think a lot of people, depending on what they're going through in life or their temperament, can identify with different types. Because after all, we're all human, aren't we? We all experience these things to certain degrees. It's just the very small details that change. But yeah, I don't think it can completely explain who you are in totality, regardless if you're INFJ, INFP, or whatever. You're still going to have your own unique set of traits because of who you are, not only how you've been brought up and what you've experienced, but I also believe spiritually as well, and what you've experienced in other lives and incarnations. And I know people might not believe in that, and to be honest, I didn't used to believe that, but that's changed. That's always something I kind of felt intuitively, but I now do believe. So yeah, there's so much thrown into it, and it's, to be honest, it's been fucking confusing to a large degree. But I do feel like I do fall in between INFP and INFJ, but I do feel like I'm possibly more aligned with INFJ, and also reading up more about INFJ, which I didn't know a lot about, because as soon as I had my INFP results the first time I ever did a test, I ran with it. I was like, I'm an INFP, yes I am. And I still, hugely, the two types are kind of very similar, but at the same time not very similar from what I've gathered. And they're confusing. It's very confusing to a large degree. So I think INFP can have a strong judging auxiliary function or something, and INFJ can have the perceiving one. So it's, they seem to be kind of reversing. But anyway, I'm just going to speak my mind about a few subjects, and maybe that'll clear it up, and then you can tell me what you think I am more predisposed to, or not, whatever. Because I do seem to care what other people think of me, actually, a lot. I guess I want to be understood. So let me speak my mind on some things, and I mean really speak my mind, because I've kind of briefly touched on some of these things in my previous videos and talking about vulnerability, and I touched a little bit on society briefly, about trying to heal the world with vulnerability and stuff. But I'm going to speak my mind a bit more about what I really think about society and culture, and why I felt for so long, for my entire life, that I've never really been able to fit in, and probably why I'm feeling so confused and lost in life at the moment. But, you know, maybe it's starting to make sense now, understanding a bit more about these character traits and these personality things. So, at the moment, I'm having very strong feelings of just feeling really almost withdrawn from society and culture, and how people live their lives, and the traditional modes of what people view as important or society views as important. I'm feeling so like I don't give a fuck about it. To be honest, I don't. Like, you know, I go to family functions or you know, events or whatever, and you get the same question. So, what are you doing with yourself, Tom? You know, what are you doing with your life? What are your plans? And I'm just like, you know, I'll put on a nice facade and I'll smile and go, well, I was thinking about maybe doing this, or I'm having some thoughts about this, and people are like, yes, but Tom, you know, it's time that you decide now. And I kind of just want to say, I don't care. I don't fucking care, you know? I know you're trying to tell me what I should do, and I know you're trying to tell me, you know, it's important to do this and this, but I don't care, because you don't understand how I see the world. I essentially view this existence on Earth as this temporary thing. I view it as this temporary thing. I don't view it as the totality of existence. I think actually that it's completely isolated in its worldview of, well, most people's worldview of very isolated, and perception of reality is completely like this big. I think there's something huge going on. I can feel it constantly behind the surface of things. And it's such an intangible thing that I find it very hard to explain to people. I find it easier to try and convey it through art or film or through music. Music has a huge impact on me. And it's so intangible, I can't really explain what it is, but it's a feeling that there's something huge going on. Something huge, and it is more important than anything. I don't care about politics. I think politicians are a bunch of fucking just spokesmen. I don't think they're real leaders. A real leader is someone like Martin Luther King, someone who was prepared to die for what they believed in, someone who didn't have to have someone write their own speeches for them and put on makeup. You know, I think modern day leadership in politics is just a joke. I mean, right now in America, there's the huge, you know, the election campaigns going on, and to me it looks like a fucking circus, and I just think it's, the majority of people's inability to think for themselves and to want to just be led without questioning boggles my mind. It's like, if I had to meet the Queen of England, if I had to meet the royal family, I wouldn't curtsy to her. I wouldn't like be in awe. Just be like, hey, how are you? You know, this is a pretty cushy job you've landed yourself, isn't it? Just by pure chance of being born into this family, you know. And I know there's people, especially in the UK, probably, you know, from an older generation, who would be like, oh, that's a shocking thing to say. That is so, you know, disrespectful. And it's like, why? Why should I show any respect? It's, you know, I just don't understand it. I don't understand people's willingness to bow down to other people who have no right over them whatsoever. You know, I just, hierarchy is, I don't get it. I don't understand it, and I don't understand how so many people just seem to let go of their own sense of sovereignty. Sovereignty. A word that I can't say, but you know what I mean. Just their own unique, independent, free, universal nature blows my mind, and it angers me to a large degree. Oh gosh, this. But yeah, it's really hard. I just find it really hard to care about a lot of the things that people care about. I really do, because all I think about is what's the bigger meaning, what's the bigger picture constantly. And I just want to be involved in something where I can work towards changing the world, you know? I don't know why, I think it's just a feeling of, I'm jealous of people who have a cause that they believe in so passionately they could die. And I know that's a funny thing to say, because you could say that that's what a suicide bomber does, you know? That's what an extremist does. And it's not that I want to do that, but it's more like, to me, at least having something like that, not because you want to kill people, but doing it for a good cause, like Martin Luther King or Gandhi or whoever, at least doing that, it gives you something greater to your life. It gives you a purpose where I feel like you can live a life where you just use yourself 100% in service to something until you're almost completely exhausted, and then you can be like, okay, I've done my job here, I can move on to my next stage of spiritual evolution and get out of this place. I can go somewhere else. I don't want to come back. That's what I feel like. That's what I feel like. I feel like I'm kind of tired of living, and I'm only 26. 26 years old. I feel like I'm tired of living already. I'm tired of the way, you know, I don't want to have a routine. I don't want to just get the normal 9-to-5 job, the house, the little family. You know, I want to have a family, but to a large degree I just feel like I don't see the point. I don't see the point. Maybe I will when I experience that, you know? Maybe I'm at a very immature stage right now. But I guess it's this craving for some bigger thing. And I'm very spiritually inclined. I find I understand mystical things so easily, you know? You try and talk to me about finances or economics or, I don't know, how to car mechanics, and I'm just like brain dead. You talk to me about the spiritual esoteric mysteries of the human condition, I'm just like, oh yeah, no, completely, makes complete sense. I understand all of that. Yeah, that's great. You know, yeah, that makes complete sense. Oh, so that's what happens when you experience enlightenment. Oh, so that's how the human ego causes suffering. Oh, okay. You know, for that, it's just, I understand it so easily, and it's like I've always felt aligned with. And I understand that organised religion has its roots in true spiritual traditions, but organised religion is the complete antithesis of what true spiritual teaching is. It's completely upside down, you know. I mean, people who say they're waiting for Jesus to come and save them don't seem to understand that what Jesus actually taught was self-reliance, you know. Heaven is within yourself. It's not within me. It's not within some man in the sky who's going to judge you at the end of your life. It's within you, and it's your job to find that within yourself. But, you know, so many fundamental religious followers don't understand that. They just kind of, it's just like, oh, Jesus, 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 and that's all you got to do. Just, I don't know. I just find it hard how people don't get that. But there we go. So, what else? What else do I think about the world and being real about stuff? I think, you know, I've talked a lot about society and things. I believe society is about to collapse. Ooh, shock horror. I think the 21st century is going to be one of the most turbulent times in human history. I think it's going to be worse than last century, where we had 2 world wars. Mainly because this way of living of our societies that we live in now, it's not sustainable. And I think everyone knows this to a degree. I mean, we've been hit over the head for years about, you know, global warming, about how we've been destroying and trashing the planet, about how the inequality between rich and poor has gone to astronomical levels now. And yet we haven't really done anything about it, have we? We've just kind of just been like, okay. It's like we've just waited until it could get as bad as it possibly can get. And even now, with things that are happening, especially in Europe, all these flashpoints that are happening, the migrant crisis, refugees, and now the escalating tensions around Syria, especially with Russia, and all this stuff going on. You know, to me it looks like the traditional flashpoints that you get before a global conflict. Same thing happened before World War One and World War Two. It just, this stuff always builds up, and it has to get to a boiling point. But this time, you know, our culture and our world has become so intertwined, and we have these banking, banks now that are become so fragile that they can't withstand another economic collapse. And talking about the bigger picture, I think there's a bigger picture to why this is going on, and maybe I'll touch on that in another video. I think I understand why it's happening, and at the same time I'm feeling like it almost has to happen, because it's like it can't continue in any other way. And even if we want to move towards something better, all these old systems are going to have to be replaced, and that means there's going to be a tremendous time of turbulence and uncertainty. And I guess that scares a lot of people, and the majority of people don't even want to think about that. You know, I've talked to it about other people, and a lot of people agree. They're like, yeah, I can sense something's going to happen, but I don't want to think about it. You know, I just rather just live my life. But it's like, yeah, but you can't, you know, it's I think it's at least better to be a little bit prepared. But anyway, I'm going off on one. What was I even talking about? INFJs, INFP, that was it. That was the original course of this video. But yeah, basically, what the fuck am I? I think I actually, from what I've learned, I relate more to INFJ, although I love INFPs as well. That's it, I guess. Wow, thanks for watching. I feel exhausted for saying all that. Oh.